Hey, what's up, guys? Tuki here, back again with another episode of my Seattle Mariners franchise mode series right here on MLB The Show 19. The last few episodes have been highlighted by change, and of course was brought on due to our underperforming supposed to be superstars, and I'll be intrigued to see what they happen to do away from the team. Of course, we looked at their end of season stats, but I'm intrigued to see what they can do in their first full season away from the team. However, we left the last episode knowing that we weren't done with the changes, but knowing what changes needed to be made, and the decision as far as who stays and who goes, well, that was left up to you guys via beautiful, beautiful straw poll. So I want to get right down to business because today we have a draft to go through, and I'm intrigued to see how our new look team can do. But again, it is not finalized. So we start off with the one decision that we had to make in the infield, and that was whether or not David Aviles or Luis Garcia happened to stay with the team. Clicking the results right now, you guys voted Luis Garcia is staying. It was relatively close, but Garcia is staying, so David Aviles will be on his way out. Perhaps slightly controversial, but hey, I'm down with it. Again, the downside to Aviles is that his ability at the plate just might not ever develop, and of course there is two people in front of him in Morno Sylvester and Gabe Little. As far as the outfield decision, the good old outfield decision, there was a lot, but here is how the voting went. Top of the poll, Cody Bellinger. You guys want him to stay, and he will. Second place and still staying on the team, Jason Dominguez. I'm assuming it's Jason, but I'm not entirely sure. I know he did sign with the New York Yankees. He will be staying. Jared Kelenic will be given another opportunity, and Julio Rodriguez will be staying, meaning we have seen the end of Brennan Davis, Christian Robinson, and Antonio Cabello as members of this organization. Again, we're going to try to get the most out of them rather than having them just spin their tires down in AAA and accomplish basically nothing. Starting pitching-wise, now, I took one of the decisions out of your hands because Tadahito Fukumori will absolutely be a starter this year. But from there, I wanted to leave it up to you who stays and who goes. Mackenzie Gore is safe, top of the voting, surprisingly ahead of Jose Barrios, who will be staying as well. Shane Baz is safe, Chad Leahy is safe, and Zach Eflin is safe. So we have seen the end of Pablo Fernandez, Manuel Cairo, Cole Winn, and Sandy Gaston, actually Braxton Ashcraft as well. And in terms of the bullpen, I left this up to you guys as well, who stays and who goes. And surprisingly, top of the poll, Pedro Rodriguez, despite some shaky results over the past season or so. You guys have elected to keep him around. Second place, Vaughn Muller. Vaughn Muller, second place. Edwin Diaz finished in third. Andy Williamson in fourth. Anthony Gonzalez in fifth. And Miguel Guillen will be staying as well. So Bob Tejada has been voted off the island by one vote. Bruno Guevara also gone, as is Joey Gerber and Elvis Luciano. So with that said, let's go ahead and make these moves, shall we? We'll get this team finalized and we will be good to go. So because he's making very little, we can pair Mr. Aviles with others in this deal, as it will be, again, Robinson's on the way out and Brennan Davis also on the way out. Not that they add a ton, but we'll see if we can do just a strictly prospect trade, and we cannot. So it's going to have to be a mix, although obviously we're going to be looking for more prospects than anything, and we might have to do separate trades. We're going to have to do separate trades here. What if we take out Robinson and just go for Aviles and Brennan Davis? Even then, the game's having trouble finding deals. I'm fairly surprised. I'm sure teams have their prospects signed. That's just a weird one. I would like to find that Vladimir Padilla is not bad, but I would preferably like to find the best one-player deal, although Al Vogt, I guess it would be, at catcher, is a beast. An absolute beast. So 19A and a 55 there is top of the board thus far. No doubt about it. Mike Ciani is okay. 19A and a 52. 18B and a 64 from the Cardinals. Or 18B. I think we got to go for the catcher, man. I think we have to. It's either Al Vogt or Padilla on the Rangers. I think it's got to be this dude. I mean, there's nobody good with him, but that's fine. Actually, we'll cancel that out. I mean, at catcher right now, when we have a Maya, we do have Hansen, but I'm not totally against adding another catcher. It has been fairly difficult for me this year in any franchise mode that I've done to come across actually getting a solid catcher. So the more opportunities we have, the better. And let's just see if there's anybody half decent, like a Jowers. Our injury situation's forcing us to hold off on the deal. It's not, though. It's not. So here, can I just accept this then, if it's going to give me that prompt? Cool. So apparently your injury situation isn't preventing you from accepting the deal. So that is one deal done and in the books. Aviles is gone, and we will move on. Of course, we do get Dwayne Jowers to immediately replace him, which is pretty sweet. Again, in the outfield, Davis is gone, Robinson's gone, Cabello is gone. It'll be Kelenic, Dominguez, Bellinger, and Rodriguez in the majors this year. So these three can get a top-notch prospect back in return. Josh Bennett is not very good. Colt McCain's pretty solid. J.J. Kell's pretty meh. 225-year-olds, absolutely not. Again, they really need to adjust this. This is why I was so frustrated with them not making changes this year. Trade values are broken. Like, they are absolutely broken. They don't adapt quickly enough. I mean, Balladares and Bird. I know players can develop later. Why Garrett Bird has any trade value whatsoever, I don't know. It's not a good sign from the game. Marlon Garcia, though, decent prospect at second base. And thus far, the preferred option I've seen. Now, Rolando Beatty, actually, that's not too bad in terms of total depth from the Marlins, or we can get a decent first base prospect. I think it's got to be Nance. I mean, Sanchez and Torero are meh, but actually, man, David Parrott, I guess it would be. David Koo next to him and Henry Rosales. I think, or Perrault, I guess it would be. It'd be Parrott. We're calling him Parrott. Chris Nance. Jeff Sanchez. We're going to go for that deal from the Giants. I'm good with that. Now, David Koo could end up wanting to play in the majors, and if he does, we'll flip him. But let's pick up another first base prospect, as if we needed one. I know we have Mateo, Prado, Heinlein, Self, and now Perot here. It would be Parrott, I'm quite sure. But I'm good with that. Again, the more opportunities, and we have Tim Kahn for that matter. The more opportunities, though, the better. These two are in the majors. These two will be probably in triple. And then Parrott and Kahn will be in double. It's not too bad, actually. And again, Heinlein is a C potential guy. So, I mean, I'm not too concerned about his developments, although it might not be that bad. David Koo does not care if he plays in the minors, so that is perfect. And we are good to go as far as keeping up with the outfielders. Now we move to the starters. Cole Winn is on the way out. He has a lot of trade value. Pablo Fernandez is on the way out. So again, Gore, Barrios, Baz, Leahy, and Eflin are staying. So Fernandez is gone, Cole Winn is gone, and Cairo's gone. Can we get a top-notch prospect back? Junior Balladares and Eric Rodriguez? Meh. That's actually the only option. Now, if we had to get back a half-decent player, again, there's really nobody that I would want. We're just so set in stone right now. We could go hunting for top-notch A-grade prospects, and that's what we're going to have to do, actually. So let's take a look at who the top prospects are in the league right now. We'll look for 20 and under. And in terms of potential, let's go all the way up to a 90. See who the best in the game are. So Fukumori's up there. Williamson's up there. We have a starter, Martin Colbert. All right, the Giants have Steve Tanner. We don't need another catcher, and Hansen's ours as it is. James Rowe is available, and from there, a lot of lower guys. So we will be looking at Colbert in Houston and Steve Tanner in San Francisco. So let's see what we have here, where again, Cole Winn would get the deal done. Fernandez only adds more to it. as does Cairo. So do they have any other prospects here? We're talking mid-70s or lower. That would be interesting enough to add to the deal. I don't expect Houston, of all teams, to actually have good prospects, but you never know, we might find somebody. Not that we need to, trade all of these guys at once, but, if we can work out a deal here, why not? And unfortunately, we're not going to be able to trade all of them at once. It's basically just going to be Cole Winn. And, Colbert's a starter as well, so. And Rodriguez is pretty terrible. In terms of someone who might actually develop, it's not looking too good. Can I add David Yamashita? I can. So Cole Winn is going to be dealt to Houston. Go ahead and make that deal. And then we'll go talk to our buddies in San Francisco. Was it not a closer? I thought it was a closer that they had. Who was their top prospect? We'll go back anyway, at least. It sucks I'm going to have to reset this, but hey, so be it. We'll go all the way back up to a 90. Beautiful. So, that is not what I wanted. I knew I forgot to set the age, and I'm like, it's still going to show different people. It is Rowe. Oh, it's on Chicago. Tanner was a starter. Okay, so Rowe in Chicago, and Tanner as another starter. I love that there's a Tanner who plays for the Giants. Shout out to Full House. So it's going to be Pablo. It's going to be Cairo, and that's already good to go. Of course, they just signed Aaron Judge. As ridiculous as that is. And again, because we don't have any rules in this, I'm just going to target whoever. Although, certainly, the next series I do with this will be a little bit restrictive in terms of, hey, trades are going to have to make sense. I'm going to try not to abuse the AI. It's something similar to what I've been doing on Twitch lately in a Miami Marlins run. Although it's been a little bit inconsistent. Chris Reyes is a beauty. So can I take out... Let me take out Rivera. Let me just get Chris Reyes, because that guy's the man. That guy's awesome. And Jackson Perez we don't really need, so let's go for... I think that's fine. So Fernandez and Cairo out to San Francisco. See if that makes them any better in the short term. And Chicago, we are going to go for that closer, James Rowe. It'll take him a while to develop if he ever does. So again, Barrios, Gore, Eflin, Baz, and Leahy will be there. Fukumori as well. So Sandy Gaston is on the way out, as is Braxton Ashcraft, although Gaston gets the deal done on his own. We are not going to have too many options in terms of where to trade people for fair value without getting back MLB-ready players. It kind of sucks. But we'll make the most of this situation. We'll add Soto to the deal, and then let me add Ashcraft. And then I have room to add somebody else, too. Who's it going to be? I don't know. What about Alex Roderick? A little bit too much value for him. What about Kozlowski? Or I'd rather go for Castro. So we're going to do that. Gaston and Ashcraft to the White Sox for Rowe, Soto, and Castro. Still not quite done, but in terms of starters, again, Barrios, Gore, Eflin, Baz, Leahy, Fukumori's good. Nakayama was safe. Gallegos was safe. We're good in terms of the starters that we're moving out, at least for the moment. So now it's just relievers. And there are some high-value players up for grabs here, which kind of scares me in terms of the options, the available players that we're going to have. To potentially trade for. John Patton, Jesus. Whew. I think I remember him going early in the draft, too. Let's see, who else do we have? Fonder, Samuel, Franco. Obviously some of these higher value guys I'm not really interested in because they're a bit too good. Leary in Cleveland's a bit too good. Robert Poisson we got rid of for a reason. Dominguez, of course, we have Eric Crum. All right, Eric Crum in Baltimore is an option. We already have Omar Escobar, D'Angelo Blum, Dawkins. Picked up that first baseman, Darren Hernandez. Or Fernandez here in Detroit. Let's go for Fernandez here. Not that we need another starter, but again, we're pretty much out of options. So, let's use Elvis Luciano. Let's use Joey Gerber. And is Guevara enough to push that into our favor? It is not. So let's use Bob Tejada. Still not enough. And I think, again, Miguel Guillen was safe. Yeah, Guillen was safe. So we only have the 4 that we're looking to get rid of. What if we take out Luciano? We have Gerber, Guevara, and Tejada. Not enough. So yeah, Fernandez guy's a little bit too good. What about the starter in Baltimore? And Hernandez. All right, those guys are a little bit too high value. Keep that in mind. Let's just look for outright prospects then. Let's see if we can get Colt McCain. Hell of a name. That's going to be a no for me. Almonte might be a late bloomer. Barber's not too bad from Cleveland. And again, like I know there were other deals there, but the second offer so very rarely is actually better than the first. Raimo, a shortstop from the Braves. Not too bad, 23 and a 70. And right now that is by far my favorite. He is the guy. So we're going to go after Raimo and Pedro Velasquez, which is good to get another reliever in the system. As long as Raimo doesn't want to play in the majors, and he doesn't. So Gerber, Guevara, and Tejada are going to Atlanta, and that leaves us with, for now, 1 trade left to make, and that is dealing Elvis Luciano to whoever the hell wants him. And will there be a half-decent player available that we can go after? Ron Motts, Garlobo, 20 being a 67, 19 and a 52 in Ramirez. You know what? Let's go for Ramirez because we're going to need some outfielders. So we'll take that deal from Pittsburgh, and with that, we are pretty much good to go. I'm still more than likely going to have to fill out some stuff roster-wise, but I feel pretty good about this. So we'll have Vogt and Hansen down in Double-A. Wade On now turns into a decent depth option. In AAA, so Self will go up to triple. We'll have Parrott and Kahn in double. And Doug Barth as the depth option. Again, Sylvester, Jowers can obviously be down in double. We'll have to sort out some of the details here with our depth options, but again, you kind of see who factors into the main team. So, since we will not be signing anybody who's half decent, let's get this roster set, including bumping up Fukumori to the majors. I at least want to get the Major League roster set, which it looks to be, just to get you guys a look at what we're going to have this year. And then once we make that old jump cut here, as I think Chad Leahy's going to start off in the bullpen. But that is going to be the rotation. And I'm going to get the roster set, the rest of it off screen at least. And then I'll show you, I'll give you a tour of the team once we're at the All-Star break, essentially. So that is the bullpen. Still not that bad. A lot of younger players, though. But I don't hate that pitching staff, all things considered. And I'm so excited to see what Fukumori can bring to the table. And then lineup-wise, that is pretty much on point. Ish. I mean, it does have Nick Prado on the bench, but I think I'm okay with just rolling with that and seeing what that version of the team can do. The outfield's pretty much set. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. So Prado doesn't get much playing time. And it's weird that it has Mateo at third and Serrano at first, even though they could be switched, but you know, that's an easy enough change, I would say. I mean, I guess I get it because Serrano, I mean, fielding-wise, neither's great. But I'm good with that. So, I mean, in terms of the positional rankings, I mean, it's a little bit weak on that left-hand side, but obviously we have people playing out of position, and not that I buy into the the ratings here at all the ranks. I was going to say the standings, which doesn't really work. But, yeah, I mean, we're rated 5th. Again, I don't know if I trust that. Prospect-wise, of course, as you would expect, we're stacked because, of course, we are after dealing away some top-notch players. But I think we're in for a very interesting season one way or another. I thank you guys for voting in those polls as well. So I will see you just before the draft, unless something extremely noteworthy happens. Before then, we'll go through the draft and see where we stand. So now seems as good a time as any to rejoin the sim in progress, as Chad Leahy, one of our starters, has broken his forearm. He'll be out for 2 to 3 months. We are less than a week away from the draft, currently sitting at exactly 500, 27 and 27 on the year. Currently, how far out are we of the AL wildcard? Currently 2.5 games out of a playoff spot. Now, the Leahy injury is not the only injury we have dealt with, as Miguel Amaya also fractured his wrist just 13 games into the season. He will be back soon. And then we've also suffered a couple of torn calf muscles down in the minors, so it's been rough in that regard. Now, we will take a closer look at the team, I would say, after the draft. Seems like it'll be the better way to go, as I'm just going to spam through here the draft. I'm not really targeting anybody in particular, but we will see what happens the rest of the way. I meant to call up a replacement for Leahy. Not really sure who it's going to be, but considering he's going to be out for a while, it's worth a shot. By the way, Fukumori, doing all right. It's actually the first time I'd looked at him. Nakayama's done a little bit better. He's already on the 40-man, so he will get the call-up. AAA will have 3, 4, 5, and 6 with James Barry. AA will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 with Colbert, who we picked up. And we'll end up playing him later again. It's the one downside right now. The amount of starters that we have, there is not room for everybody. Although somehow Fukumori has ended up as the long reliever, which I don't agree with. Baz and Eflin have been struggling, but we'll still leave Nakayama there. We'll handle it that way. And then on this side of things, Flores is a starter. We'll get him into the rotation there. And then AA, let's get that set up there with Kirkpatrick. Perfect. So that'll be the rotation moving forward. Let's go ahead and get to the draft. And then, like I said, we'll do a little recap of the team thus far. Players that we might be concerned about heading towards the All-Star break and the trade deadline in particular. As we're 4 days out here, 2 games over 500. I wouldn't say I expected us to dominate or to win the division. The good thing is we're not terrible. Like, that would have been a disaster if we were terrible to begin this season. Hanging around at 500 isn't all that bad. Of course, we have a lot of question marks on this team, especially at first base. Still a lot of new players that we've picked up. A lot of guys playing their first full season in the majors. So I view it as somewhat of a success thus far, as we will get to the draft. A 2025 draft already. Of course, it's a damn shame that we're picking here rather than much, much later in the draft, which would have been the plan at this point. But you can see it's a fairly deep draft. We're going to have a good opportunity here to do some damage. So we won't be looking at a closer. We're likely to be able to get a good closer much later in the draft. But Carlton Adkins at shortstop. Hello. That's not bad. Good 60 time. Hey, Satan, how are you? But he is ready next year at 21. We don't know for sure that he's that good, but he could be the pick. We also have Ron Castro, who will not be the pick. That's fairly straightforward. Ken Marion at short will not be the pick. That's pretty straightforward. Eric Muriel is a little bit better, but still, I'd rather go for the guy that's a little bit of an unknown. Eric Hedrick looks really good. And that's a shame, because I really don't want to take another starting pitcher, but Eric Hedrick looks great. Has a slider as his first pitch as well. Andre Drotar, he's 22 and 4+ years away, so that's not going to happen. William Iwamura, not as good as Hedrick. Gallegos, I guess it would be, with the old double L. Marcel Gallegos, 22. Not bad. How does he compare to Adkins? He's a little bit better than Adkins. Adkins has the fielding going for him. They're about even. That's a tough one. We could go for Adkins just off of best guess that he's actually half decent. Heath Casto is not better than Hedrick. Montero might be or not. That's a disaster. Lewis Waring, the 20-year-old. Again, well-rounded, good speed and stealing. We have Henry Jackson, not confirmed, but if he's that good, that would be amazing. So I think it's got to be between Jackson and Hedrick as far as pitchers are concerned. Hedrick has the 265s. Everything else is a 70 or higher. Jackson also the 265s. Low injury risk for him as well, so we know he's got high durability. So I think Henry Jackson is the most interesting pitcher. And then in terms of a position player, it was Muriel, who, again, I mean, some of the batting stats are pretty weak, which is why Carlton Atkins as a fielder looks great, but we don't know for sure that he's that good. Or we have Gallegos, who's 22, and will be ready next year. The batting's a little bit more well-rounded. The fielding's up there as well. He just doesn't have the potential speed that Carlton Atkins happens to have. And then again, there's also Waring, who has high injury risk, and I wouldn't want my shortstop at DH. So I think it comes down to Adkins or Jackson. And I'm just not sold on Adkins. Let's go for Henry Jackson. We got to take the best player available. There's a chance that that is indeed Henry Jackson. Might have been one of the other players, specifically a starting pitcher. But I feel pretty confident in that pick. And quite a few guys who were 75s were down too. So we have Ken Montero, who just isn't good. Just isn't. Carlton Medeiros, pretty strong. The control's a little bit weak, but not bad as a closer. Hedrick is still available, and I think we have to go for him. Castro is there. Adkins is still available. And then Casto. So it's got to be Hedrick or Medeiros. And I'm going to go for Eric Hedrick. I probably should have taken him in the first round. The fact he's still there is ridiculous. And we will see as Medeiros is going to be off the board. Those competitive balance rounds just killed our chances of getting somebody else half decent towards the top half of the draft. So we better hope I chose correctly with those two starters. In terms of 70s, now, it's tough to say I want to go for any of these guys. I could just go best guess territory. It's a really tough call. But McCall is fairly well-rounded, but especially the hits. The hits per 9 are a bit concerning. Nick West, 22 and potentially 3 years away, but looks to be fairly well-rounded. You have Melendez, not a ton to go off of there, especially too if he's close to being confirmed as a 70 potential. Corey Pritchett is meh. Varela is kind of meh as well. I think we're already in best guess territory, as crazy as that is. So, despite the minimum accuracy, let's take from some of these 70s. There's actually quite a few of them left. Are they all 19? As opposed to any younger 18-year-olds that are in the 70s, they are. So, we are looking... How many 19? Jesus, there's still a lot of younger guys available. So, we're looking at Varela, who I'd want to avoid. So, we're looking at Elvis Mendel, Ray Lyles, Richard Kang, Quezada... Anybody else? The answer is no. So we're going to go for Richard Kang and just hope for the best. That's really all we can do at this point, as a lot of the guys we had scouted out were high-end talents and other teams had their eyes on them as well. Aside from that, it's either Mendel or Lyles. And let's go for, again, we can't trust any of that. Texas or Florida. Let's go for Texas, just because if he's actually somehow great, we wouldn't have homesickness be as big of a factor. 5th round, Lyles is available, so we'll take him next. Again, I'm not expecting anybody outside of our top 2 picks. We just have to hope that we hit on those picks. And last but not least, it is going to be, I guess we'll go with Santos and hope for the best. Yeah, let's do it. Not expecting much out of that draft. That looked from being very promising to very disappointing in terms of the amount of players we were able to get a hold of. But, oh, we hit though. We hit though from the looks of it. Now, Henry Jackson is only a 54, which sucks, but he is 19B potential. So I can't help but feel as though I botched that first round pick because Jackson's overall is about 10 overall points lower than you'd like it to be. However, Eric Hedrick was a very good second round pickup, 21, 68, and an 87B potential. Very happy with that. Again, he'll be ready within a couple of seasons. It's not too bad, probably by the time he's 23, 24. Richard Kang for a shot-in-the-dark C potential pick was really good. 62 overall at 19 years old. We'll be signing him as well. And then here comes the big one. Elvis Mendel is better than my first two selections, and we blind guessed shot-in-the-dark selected him. That is hilarious. The hits and home runs certainly need to be developed, but 19, 73, and an 87B potential is just beautiful. And then Ray Lyles, I mean, we got another B potential guy. He's a 59 at 19 years old. And then we had one miss. That is one hell of a draft, considering beyond Hedrick, we were in best guess territory. That is one hell of a draft. I feel pretty damn good about that. As I'll take a quick scroll through. Drotar was 22, but only a 55. We were looking at him. I'm mainly looking at players that I had available to me or that I was considering drafting in the first two rounds. And we'll see if I made a terrible choice. And if anyone was selected by the third round, actually, I don't think they'd be appearing for me. Iwamura was there, but nothing too crazy. Ron Castro ended up being a 49. Warren Kennedy, I don't think we were ever really considering. So, I mean, granted, I'm not looking at too many potentials right now, but still, maybe it's just because they were best guess. But I'm pumped about the draft that we just had. I can't really say I'm all that disappointed. I think we did pretty damn good given the circumstances. It's just whether or not I botched that first round. Gallegos was an 83. That's not too bad. But I'm not really seeing the guys that I was considering drafting. And if I am, I'm just looking right past them. Lewis Waring, A potential, but only a 53. So let me know if there's anybody that I missed out on, but I feel pretty good about that. And as we shift our focus to what this team has been, again, right now, 9.5 games behind the Angels at 30-30, a dead .500 record on the season, 3.5 games out in the wild card. Of course, dealing with injuries. Miguel Amaya barely got to play, but he wasn't on fire to start the season. And then Chad Leahy, who you guys chose to keep as a starter, hasn't been great at all. He's been horrible. He's been pretty bad. That's the only real way to put it. In terms of the rotation in general, Barrios is killing it. Jose Barrios is the ace that we were hoping for. The 280 average. I mean, he's yet to lose a game this season. I think that speaks for itself. But yeah, he's been phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. A 96 overall. Mackenzie Gore, who we elected to keep as well. A 2.69 ERA, 6-0 on the season through 12 starts. Our top two pitchers have been tremendous. And the good thing is, Gore not being the ace hasn't negatively affected him. However, then we get into a little bit of trouble. Zach Eflin, who we talked about before, mainly in that Blue Jays series, was phenomenal for us. He was pretty good at the end of last year, but it has not been a strong start to the season for Mr. Eflin, who as well is on the penultimate year of his contract. He has one more year at $6.9 million, so he's got time to turn it around. And then Shane Baz, in his second season back, has been struggling as well. He's been awful. Absolutely awful thus far this season. Tadahito Fukumori, however, as a rookie, I mean, a 1-4 record, but the ERA is okay. The FIP is kind of rough, but he's also extremely pissed off about his pay, even though I paid him more than what he was requesting. So it's a shame money is that big of a factor to him, but that is what it is. We'll solve that at the end of the season, I do believe. Yes, we will. And then Alex Nakayama was called up recently to be the long reliever, of course, and thus far he's done well. The bullpen, Miguel Guillen, the 3.05 ERA through 20 innings. Great. He's been great. Miguel has been tremendous thus far this year. No complaints. I know he only has 8 innings pitched, but 19-year-old Andy Williamson has been struggling to adapt to prime time. Good God. One could even say, send him down soon. I know he only has 8 innings, but, I mean, we do have guys like Willingham. We have guys like Chet Watson, who's been struggling, actually. Even Omar Escobar. We'll give him time to turn it around, but a brutal start for him. Von Muller has a 1-3 record on the season. A 3.79 ERA with the 4.24 FIP. He's been okay. He hasn't been brutal, but he hasn't been great. Anthony Gonzalez, the 4.34 ERA and a 1.48 whip. The FIP has been brutal. I mean, I guess you can expect these struggles with a young bullpen. Pedro, rocking an 89 right now, still hanging around a 4 ERA. The whip at a 1.41. The FIP's been great, though. So, Pedro, right now on pace to have his best season yet. And then Edwin Diaz, who we kept in as the closer, has been great. 16 saves, none blown, 1 hold on the year through 23 innings pitched. He's been great. So it's nice to see Edwin Diaz holding up his end of the bargain. But yeah, a lot of these younger guys are kind of struggling. Guillen, Rodriguez, and Diaz, the real standouts in the bullpen. Like I said, we have some options, but we'll give these guys time for sure. It's not about winning a World Series this year. Lineup-wise, let's take a look. Jimmy Voorhees. Jimmy Voorhees, not exactly at the same pace he was at last year, but still, I'm in a 303 average, 352 on-base percentage, and an 845 OPS. I'm liking what I'm seeing from him. Jared Kelenic. I mean, that's okay. It's not amazing, but I'll take that from Jared Kelenic. He's finally starting to show signs of being a top-notch prospect like we were hoping. The on-base is decent. The OPS is decent. I mean, I don't expect like a massive power game out of him, although his power against lefties has really developed this season. That's pretty damn good. Pablo Mateo, one of the big pickups. He's killing it. He's killing it. 21 home runs through 238 at-bats. Craziness. 352 on base, a 949 OPS for the big man Pablo Mateo. Cody Bellinger, so far this year, has been good, but not great. Good, but not great, like he should be for a legitimate 98 overall. So that's a little bit concerning. I'm not saying we're trading him. I mean, again, that contract isn't, ridiculous at this point, but you'd like to see him improve a little bit. Adrian Serrano, who I absolutely wanted to give a shot to this season. So far, he's done pretty well. 341 on base. The OPS is a little bit lower than what you'd hope for, but not too bad for the 21-year-old. Julio Rodriguez, 10 home runs on the year, 339 on base, a 794 OPS. Again, not amazing, but not bad either. I'm okay with that. Ray Mitra has been struggling a little bit, and I gotta be honest, I'm starting to wonder. I mean, the 305 on base, the OPS isn't quite there. He's still 21, but I need a confidence booster from you, Ray. Gabe Little has been struggling. I mean, the 714 OPS, it's better than I thought it would be for the 220 average. 295 on base, so we need to see a little bit more out of Gabe Little. And Bo Naylor, who's been at catcher due to the injury, it's not great from Bo. And this was his time to really prove that he should be the guy there. We might be looking at an Anthony Siegler, although he's not exactly lighting the world on fire at the plate down in AAA. So I do not regret picking up Eric Hansen, or of course having Eric Hansen and picking up another catcher, just for that little bit of extra depth. Actually, here to take a look at the bench, Luis Garcia, not exactly killing it at the plate when he's been given an opportunity through 96 at-bats. Nick Prado, only 44 at-bats, but it's not been good. And Dominguez, through 20 at-bats, has a 250 average, 348 on base. Maybe we'll see him a little bit more, although I'd argue the outfield has been the standouts thus far. And just for the hell of it, down in AAA, some of our big guys, Raimo at a 279, Self and Heinlein doing well, Sylvester doing well. Pretty happy with what I'm seeing. out of that team down in Double-A as well. Someone like Robert Ramirez killing it right now. Of course, you have some guys who are probably a little bit too good for Double-A, Parrott in particular, but I'll take it. So overall, not an amazing start for the team, but not exactly a soul-crushing experience either. As a matter of fact, let's take a look around the league here, try to track down some of our former stars. I know that it said Riley was on the Dodgers, so we'll get there on the way back. But let me take a look, as I'm trying to remember. I can't remember where half of these guys are, and I need to really write that down or just note that down. It's like, oh, okay, here are all the guys I want to keep an eye on because that's who we got rid of, and we need to compare. How is Sammy T doing? Sammy T. He had that one really good season after we traded him to the White Sox, but since then he kind of dipped back to what he was in the year that we traded him. So I can't say I regret that trade all that much. Jack Flaherty. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Did we give up on Flaherty a year early? Perhaps. But he's 29. We knew the big contract was coming. He's been really good this year, even though the win-loss record isn't quite there. Is that a mistake? When you factor in maybe allowing certain other pitchers, players like Leahy to try and get into that rotation and develop, maybe not. But obviously that sucks to see. Jimenez has begun to turn the corner. We'll see where he finishes the season. But thus far, posting the best numbers of his career. But of course, he got a big-time contract from Tampa. But so far, two of our former players that we were really relying on, we take a look, and the numbers are just a tad bit concerning. At the very least, to this guy, this gets you guys a look at the top players on other teams. You can see who's leading the way. Luis Urias hasn't done much in Baltimore thus far. Brandon Brennan, how have you done for the Giants? Solid ERA and whip, solid fit. Brennan's been great. So we're struggling a little bit. Jorge Alfaro has been pretty damn good since we got rid of him. Damn it. So far, I have a little bit of regret. So far, Austin Wright. Oh my God. Oh my God, no. Every single guy so far that we've moved on from is having a career year, except for Sierra. We made the right call there. Ubayashi. Okay, Ubayashi's struggling at least. Seeing Austin Riley doing that well hurts the soul. Paddock. 2.40 ERA, tremendous FIP. Joey Lucchesi, 2.83 ERA. Tremendous FIP on that new contract of his. Again, we chose going to develop some of the youth over trusting these guys because they hadn't gotten us there yet. And that may have just been proven to have been the wrong choice. Granted, we're not even at the All-Star break yet, so you don't know for sure. Certain numbers can turn around, but at least for the moment, we're sweating a little bit over some of the decisions that we've made to move on from certain talents. It's not... Okay, Malik's... Oh my God. So now all of a sudden his slugging percentage has just gone through the goddamn roof. Carl has been terrible at least. A fairly painful experience here to end this episode. Oh, that damn junior face. That damn junior face. And Joey Gallo, of course. How differently would the story have gone had we picked up Joey Gallo? I don't know. I'm not totally regretting it yet, because I do think some of the guys that we have chosen to develop over the season can lead us to success. But that was a fairly depressing experience. I will see you guys in the next one. We will finish up this season, but whether or not we are playoff bound by the end of it remains to be seen.